I learned so much from the year that I had to pay $70,000 in taxes. The year that I found out that my blood cells were way too small, and that could be why I was a walking zombie. The year that I got actual house care help and childcare help. And what does this all have to do with abundance? Like the lessons I learned in the year that all of this happened speak a lot to abundance. And that is what we're talking about in today's episode. We know that you were born magical. We know that you are intuitive, and we know that you are brimming with everyday enchantment. Here at the Sisters Enchanted, we believe in intention, we believe in intuition, and we believe in everyday magic. Welcome in to the Expedition to Soul podcast. Welcome in for this special episode of Expedition to Soul. This is number 6 in our abundance series here. I am celebrating 7 years of the Sisters Enchanted and bearing it all, so to speak, in these abundance episodes. Now, we are gearing up to teach our Conjuring Abundance class as part of our Holistic Witchery program. And that's happening and it's right around the corner. So you want to get registered and join us. The way that we talk about abundance is it's about an abundant mindset and not just about money, because we know that as you're hearing in these episodes, money is actually only a small piece of it. And conjuring and cultivating abundance in other areas of life is what helps you to support yourself in having the financial life that you want to have. So let's look at 2021. This is the episode for that year. I've learned a lot up until this point in time in our time machine. And as we rolled into 2021, the Sisters Enchanted was just growing and growing and growing. We learned a lot, like logistically in 2020. Personally, in 2021, this was the year that actually it's so interesting because so many people in 2020 experienced life in a way that they hadn't before and were really online or had their kids home or they were with their spouses all day for the first time ever. And that's just how my life is regularly. So for us, the thing that changed in my personal life with 2021 was a more cohesive family unit, actually. So prior to 2021, my husband and I are close. We've been married this year. We will be married for 11 years. But I have known him I believe, for 18 years, if I'm doing that math right. So I've known him for a long time. And we definitely are two independent people. And we didn't often like mesh extended family. So it was very much like he sort of did his thing, I did my thing. But in 2020, that changed and we really became a cohesive family unit, like all around. And so that was different and new and exciting and came into 2021 with us. So that was a change that was happening in my personal life. Also coming off of 2020 and really looking for like what resources were available to me in 2019. I talked about boundaries and learning some lessons around that and also understanding what I was and was not responsible for. And in 2021, rolling into that year, I felt really tired. Like I was so tired. And I remember looking in the mirror one day and actually thinking that I was like, I must have a serious illness. I must have cancer or something because I am more tired than I ever have been in my life. And like so tired that I felt like I could just fall asleep standing up. And so I went to the doctor and it turned out, it ended up being not a huge, like, wasn't a big disease, but I had really, really, really bad anemia, like so bad that uh the the doctors didn't actually have me take any iron supplements because they were concerned about the cause of my anemia, like if I did have cancer or if I had like a blood disorder or something, and that, not impacting the right way. So I had all kinds of testing done that year and really we never got to the bottom of it. I will share in the next episode how some shifts happened in my life where will have dealt with this issue with really small blood cells, which means there's like not enough oxygen going to your body and really terrible anemia and some other stuff with my blood also. And it would go on for 18 months. And then I made some life changes and I suddenly was corrected. So definitely an energetic component to that. But that happened in early 2021. So I had that energy there, right? This was actually the first year too that I really got consistent help, childcare help, which was very helpful amongst all of this. Financially in abundance, we continued to grow at the Sisters Enchanted. And I had this huge tax bill for the first time in my life, $70,000. And it was such a mindset thing for me. Like, firstly, how does this happen? Secondly, I can't believe I'm the kind of person who has a $70,000 tax bill, right? And then I had the money to pay it though, which was really for me as a Sagittarius stellium, and Jupiter, that's the planet of expansion, sits right with my moon. And I have a lot of stories in my life about overspending money, not having enough money. So it was really a testament to mindset work that I had the money to pay it, and it didn't like hurt the pocketbook to pay it because I was prepared. So that was something that I know doesn't happen for a lot of people. You start to create more abundance in your life, financial abundance, and your capacity to know what to do with it, like your capacity to hold the money and your knowledge around money doesn't increase with the money coming in. And that's why so many people who win the lotto end up going bankrupt because they don't know what to do with it. So that was a lesson that I was glad to have learned previously, going through a debt journey in the past, and then just having done the mindset work around abundance. And I think that is what is really critical, that we often want more money in our lives or an abundance of whatever it is, but we don't know what it's like to have it. We don't know how to handle it. So I see this too in relationships where a person might really want like a different kind of romantic relationship or something. And then they might sabotage if they do get it because they don't know how to receive. Maybe you say, like, oh, I wish I had a partner who bought me flowers and like made dinner and surprised me. But then you might get that and you might just quickly sabotage it because you don't know how to receive that and how to hold on to it. And that's why we do the abundance work that we do, because the stories that we hold within our energy centers, they have us calibrated to a certain kind of story. And until we change that calibration to a different kind of story, we can't actually hold the thing that it is that we desire to have. It's very challenging to hold it because you don't know how, and your energy is not primed to hold it. So if you look back on my story prior to this time, I had been on a debt payoff plan for 20 something thousand dollars in consumer credit card debt. I had paid off 20 something thousand dollars in medical bills for my daughter being born. I had a really tough year, 2019, at the Sisters Enchanted, and learned some financial lessons around that. And here I am in 2021. I grew my capacity. Like, I understood what it means to be the person who knows what to do with money. And that came from learning the stories that were putting me in those patterns that were not helpful and being able to change them. So that was a highlight for me for sure, was being able to pay that tax bill and pay it so confidently and just know, like, I know what I'm doing. I've rewritten these stories and I am the person who can do this. So that was a highlight, actually. And a really exciting thing for me. I know it probably sounds silly. Like, why would you be excited about that? And obviously, I would rather keep the money, but it was really affirming to me that I could just do that. Like, I was prepared and I learned and I grew my abundance capacity to be able to do that. And that felt really, really good. In terms of abundance, more in my personal life, I mentioned that I did. That was the year that I had consistent help at home with the kids and just house stuff, helping with meal prepping and whatnot. And that was great. That felt great too, a great success, because that was from my ability of working on abundance work to create space in my life. And that's part of what we teach in Conjuring Abundance also, is spaciousness, an abundance of spaciousness, an abundance of confidence. We teach that angle because if you're not confident in what you need, you're not confident in asking for it, you don't know how to make the space, all the financial abundance in the world won't stick. So all of that is baked in there. And all of that came to life for me in 2021. I will say the lesson that took me for a loop that year was really scaling a business. So if you are a business owner and you're listening to this, there's a difference between growing a business and starting a business and scaling a business. So scaling a business is where you pretty much try to keep your level of output the same, but increase revenue on the company, right? And that has been the absolute hardest thing that I have ever done in my life. And figuring out the right people for the right jobs. And then the lessons that I learned around ownership and surrounding yourself with people who understand self-funded business. Because I think when we think of like work getting a job somewhere and working for a company, there's some funding with that company. Like there's investors or there is like a board of directors or they might be a publicly traded company and there's money changing hands and there's a funding aspect to it. But when you have a self-funded business, so that the only money going into the business is the money going into the bank account, if you don't surround yourself with people who understand that, it's very challenging to have the level of like buy-in on the mission that makes that position successful. And I think that's actually applicable to personal life as well. When you're looking for support from people, if the people you're asking to support you don't have buy-in on your mission, like what you're doing, it's really challenging for them to give the support you need. So if maybe you are looking for like I don't know, say you want to have this beautiful backyard for the summertime and you want like string lights and a patio and you want a fire pit. If the people that you're asking to help you aren't like, "Oh yeah, that's so exciting. I can't wait to sit by that fire pit and enjoy it and like turn on the string lights and hang out with you on Saturday nights in your backyard. Let me come help." If they don't buy into what it is that you're asking for support with, you will not get the support that fills your cup. Like you won't get the kind of support that feels abundant. So whatever that area is, and that's a great thing to consider because where are you trying to square peg round hole people in your life? So if for you, like you have a vision for maybe you have kids and you want their bedroom to be a certain way, but if they aren't literally bought in to the bedroom being that way, they aren't going to support you the way that you want them to. If you have a spouse and like you want Thursday night dinners or like a date night that looks a certain way. If they aren't on board with that mission, it's challenging to feel fulfilled and abundant in the area. So what do? You talk to people and align a common vision with them. In the business world, obviously people need to be on board with your vision. But in your personal lives, that's where you meet with people, you talk with them, you communicate, and you say, this is how I would love to feel. This is my intention. This is my vision. What is yours? And how can we meet in the middle and have a vision that we both feel like supported on and that we both are buying into so we both feel abundant in this area. And so that was a big lesson for me in business that certainly applies in life and it applies with me in my marriage too. I definitely had to have those conversations with my husband and say like I see that this is how you want this to be and this is how I want it to be and they're not the same and that's why we both feel so not abundant and so not supported. So understanding those differences and then taking time to work through it and figure out what that will look like. The last thing that I have from 2021, aside from all of that sort of mindset stuff, you also have to understand what it is that you just don't need to be doing. So that was a big lesson for me also in 2021 as I worked on the mindset around abundance and common vision and what are we working towards together in all areas of life, but also realizing that you literally cannot do it all. So my health really pointed that out to me in 2021. I had those blood things going on, perimenopause symptoms, my hair, I lost so much hair in 2021. I had estrogen dominance. I still have estrogen dominance. So that was like been an ongoing thing. And all of that happening, and it really reinforced that like nobody can do it all. I don't do it all. I don't cook dinner. I don't really clean, like I tidy my house, but I'm not the one who cleans the house. I get help with that. I get help with all kinds of things because I can't do it all. So I think that for anybody listening to this, a really helpful tip, even if you're not in a position to get support, like to pay for somebody to help you, make a list of what are the things that are really your genius. You're like the genius at what are those things? And then do that stuff first. And then anything else, either figure out a way to offload it or just not have to do it. But when you can just align your life to the things that you're really good at, things will start to change for you and you will feel more abundant and you will feel more spacious and you will feel more confident because you'll see yourself succeeding. So in my life, that looks like with my kids, my zone of genius is being outdoors. I am outdoorsy. I will take them on a hike. I will take them on a 4-mile hike into the mountains by myself. No problem at all. But like, I don't want to be the one, I don't feel like I need to take my kids to swim lessons. And I don't feel like that I need to sit around the house with them all day long. So if that's the way it's going to be, I typically will try to say, like, okay, well, do you want to hang out with your cousin? Like, is Grammy coming over today? What's dad doing? because I know that I'll just feel guilty and like it's just not going to feel great. It's not going to feel abundant. So I try to focus on those zone of genius events, right? And then doesn't mean I don't stay home with my kids because I do that a lot too. But I know in those times to release the guilt over like how I feel like I'm being as a parent because I know it's not my zone of genius. So I guess that's the point I'm trying to make is to release that guilt from yourself. Another thing for me is I'm not a tidy person. I'm a cluttered person. I've got stuff everywhere. ADHD mind at its finest. I just leave stuff around. Don't even think about it. Like I will just leave a coffee cup anywhere and then they'll leave another one. And then by the end of the day, there's like a coffee cup in the bathroom and one like on the floor in my kids' room and one on my desk. And who even knows where else they are? They're full of tea and coffee and matcha and like whatever. I just leave them around. And I could feel guilty about that. Or I could just say, well, that's not my zone of genius. So it doesn't mean I shouldn't clean them up because I should, but I don't feel guilty about it because I know that's just who I am. It's not my zone of genius. No sense in crying about it. And I just focus on my genius activities and look for confidence and conjure confidence in those areas. All right. So, my top tips from 2021 get people on board with your mission. And if they're not on board with whatever your vision is for a project or your mission or why you want to do something, meet them in the middle, figure out how to come to a common mission. If you are a business owner, scaling up a business, hands down, the hardest thing I've ever done, continues to be the hardest thing I've ever done. And so I'll report back in 7 more years, maybe. But that has been challenging. Really working on that abundance mindset over time to increase your capacity for a new way of being. Because in the past, I could not hold money, I could only hold debt. And it took till this time that I really flex those muscles to understand one, how to manage money, but two, have the mindset of like, I don't need to spend it because it's not going anywhere, like I'm not going to fall into a lack place. So I don't need to spend it right away. It will still be here. And I am safe having this sitting here, which sounds weird because you would be like, obviously you're safe. But if your nervous system and your mind and your energetic stories are calibrated to like, it feels safe and familiar to not have any money, you will not hold money, which is why we have to work on our mindset around conjuring abundance. And then my final tip, figure out what are your genius level activities? What are you best at? And start with those things in your life because that will help you feel confident. It will help you feel like you have more space, which will help you recalibrate those stories to have more financial abundance if that's what you want. All right. That was 2021. It was a big year personally for me. I did have in the fall that year, I left it out. Some people have heard this story. Total like I don't know, a moment in time where I just was very overwhelmed. All the sickness stuff boiled over, and I totally had a like breakdown moment in my marriage. And I am grateful for that because it actually in the end brought my husband and I closer. But, it wasn't all sunshine and daisies, and it isn't always that way. And I think that's why we do the work that we do to understand what got me there and why am I not where I want to be? And how do I have that sense of everyday magic in these areas of life that feel like they could use some work? And that's what we do here at the Sisters Enchanted. All right. Be sure to check out Holistic Witchery because we start soon, holisticwitchery.com. And we're kicking off with Conjuring Abundance. And you do not want to miss out on this. All right, y'all. I'll see you in the next episode. Until next time, I hope that you have an enchanted rest of your day ahead. If you liked this episode of the Expedition to Soul podcast, please rate, review, subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, it will really help us spread everyday magic, intention, and intuition to the masses and helps us so much as a small business. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. There are new episodes every Tuesday and astro forecasts for the week ahead every Friday. If there's any topics you'd want to hear, anything you want us to dive deeper into, shoot us an email at magic@thesistersenchanted.com. And as always, thank you so much for listening and being part of the community here at the Sisters Enchanted. And we'll see you in the next episode.